For decades, a cornerstone of Zionist propaganda has been the erasure of a people. A parade of Israeli politicians have insisted there is no such thing as a Palestinian people. There was never a country called Palestine, never an independent Palestinian state. But that is not how modern nations are formed, neither in concept nor in law. Since the world traded a colonial past for a modern international legal framework, the right of a people to exist has never required the permission of an oppressor, nor has it ever demanded proof of an ancient sovereign past. If you apply the Zionist rules for Palestinians, there is no such thing as an Italian, a Lebanese, or an Iraqi. 2,500 years after the Greeks named it, Italy still referred to a geographic region, not a nation. It was a peninsula containing rival, warring republics and kingdoms. A citizen of Venice, Rome, or Florence would have never thought of themselves as Italian. Only in the 19th century, through the unification efforts of revolutionaries like Giuseppe Garibaldi, did the idea and then the reality of a modern Italian nation emerge. There had never been a sovereign country called Italy before that. Would anyone today call Italians a fake people? It's the same story elsewhere. Iraq and Lebanon are 20th century creations, modern nations drawn on colonial maps. So too with Libya and Sudan. Countries that took their names from geographic regions their people had inhabited for centuries, but which had never been independent nation-states before. Palestine is no different. The Greeks gave Palestine its name centuries before the Roman era. Unlike Italy, people who lived in the region began to identify as Palestinian even before the modern nationalist movement. 1,000 years ago, the great Palestinian geographer al-Muqaddasi documented his travels across the Arab Empire. In one passage, he describes being in Persia, thousands of kilometers from his home in Jerusalem. A local craftsman asks him, "Are you Egyptian?" Al-Muqaddasi's reply, "No, I am Palestinian." This is one of several passages where he identifies himself as a Palestinian. Not only did he identify himself as a Palestinian, but even in the far corners of the Caliphate, the people he met knew who Palestinians were and where they came from, 1,000 years ago. His book remains so influential that it is still available for purchase on Amazon today. In the 17th century, Ottoman geographer Khatib Çelebi mapped the Levant and labeled the coastal region Philistin, calling it the noblest of the administrative divisions of Syria. And in 1915, the Philistin Risalisi, the Palestinian treatise, was published as a military manual for officers of the Ottoman Eighth Army Corps. Though focused on military matters, it described Palestine in historical, geographic, and ethnographic terms, because the Ottoman administration understood it was a real place with a real people. The emergence of a Palestinian national identity in the late 19th and early 20th centuries mirrored the global rise of nationalism. But Palestinians faced a unique challenge: Zionism, a political movement backed by the very colonial power that ruled their land. Its goal wasn't just domination. It was to replace them by establishing a new state on top of theirs. Look at the map of the 500 to 600 Palestinian villages that were ethnically cleansed in 1948. The people who lived in those villages had ancestral ties to the land stretching back centuries, often millennia. We have land titles, tax rolls, birth certificates, and other records dating back centuries. Today, the world recognizes this truth. Since 2012, Palestine has held the status of non-member observer state at the United Nations, and the keyword is state. In May 2024, the UN General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to expand Palestine's rights, acknowledging it is qualified for full membership. 147 countries, more than 75% of the United Nations, officially recognize Palestine as a sovereign state. So why continue pushing the lie that Palestinians don't exist? Because you can't sell the myth of a land without a people for a people without a land, unless you erase the people who were already there. That's why any mention of the word Palestinian is treated like an existential threat. Because it is. Because it exposes the truth. Zionism wasn't a miraculous return to an empty land. It was a European settler colonial land grab enabled by a colonial empire that displaced an indigenous population. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you would like to see more content like this.